Today, we're going to be reviewing a bunch of videos where people believe that having no evidence and stating things emphatically means that they are correct. As you can see, I'm showing various Egyptians' faces which appear to be black, but watch what they show as evidence.
Real Egyptians are black. Modern day Egyptians are Arab invaders. Then how come I am 98% Egyptian and not black or Arab?
Yep, that's the level of argument we're dealing with today. Someone who doesn't know that they come from Arabia.
Black people are not the original Egyptians, they are not the original Chinese, they are not the original indigenous peoples of what we know as the present-day USA. This isn't about Egyptians. This is about Americans fighting over histories and cultures that they find impressive, trying to claim them as their own, which, in the process, erases everybody else's culture and history, and contributes to an odd and sad culture of shame around just being West African.
Why are we all African?
You don't have to go back very far, only about 100,000 years, and all our ancestors lived in Africa, were African, and walked out of Africa not that long ago. So we are African, actually we're African apes. We're all African apes, and it somehow brings us all together, don't you think?
We're apes with a shave.
Yeah, exactly right, yes.
Yep, that's the mainstream scientific view. So what's the problem with this view? That's what they believe. That's what mainstream scientists believe. So it is true. The people of Africa, I don't know why she fixates on West Africa. The people of Africa are the origins of the Chinese, the United States people, the Canadians, the Japanese, everybody.
Dear Hoteps, here are some facts you need to accept. You are not the ancient Egyptians, and you are not the Native Americans. You are not Greek. You are not Amazigh. You are not Chinese. You are not the Moors. You are not Etruscan. You came from West Africa, which is a beautiful and diverse place, and you should be happy and proud of that. And stop claiming other people's history, and stop trying to be everything but West African.
First of all, most African Americans who came through slavery are mixed with Asians, Europeans, and Native Americans. And because of this, they have multiple ethnic origins. Of course, they accept that they're black because they're treated like black people. They're not treated like Native Americans, not treated like Asians, they're not treated like Europeans. And so we hold this identity as human beings who are melanated in this way. Now, why do they keep bringing up the West African thing? Well, in their opinion, West Africa is not this great place, which it is. It's better than a lot of the places they mention. But let's look deeper into this.
Humans have existed in almost every corner of the earth. When people say black people are the true insert race or peoples here, that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about African people, typically the image of Western African people, being the true indigenous of those groups who were eventually displaced by the groups we know of today.
I legitimately have no idea what the hell she's talking about. I think she's talking about, but I'll guess, this is my guess, I think she's talking about the people who say that, actually I have no idea what the hell she's talking about.
Which is just not true. The conspiracy of Cleopatra being black or true Egyptians being black quite literally leads to African Americans, most of whom likely descend from West Africa, going to Egypt and harassing and assaulting native.
That's where the video cut off. But let's complete her sentence. She wanted to say that African Americans claim they're Egyptian and then move to Egypt and whoop Egyptians' ass. Which is like, what the hell? That's quite a claim. And secondly, first of all, it's not African Americans only. Africans, Europeans, Asians, Middle Easterners, even people who were in Egypt a couple hundred years ago said that the ancient Egyptians were black. It's not just black people. Secondly, there's a conflation here that's being done, taking several theories that have nothing to do with each other and putting them together. First of all, the claim that the ancient Egyptians is a standalone theory. It has nothing to do with China, America, or any of those things. Secondly, let's take the second point of this. The people who claim that the Africans left Africa 100,000 years ago, 60,000 years ago, and more recently has nothing to do with the idea that everyone was black and then some other entity came from other places and displaced those people. That's a completely different thing, and I would agree that's the Afrocentrists that you guys try to conflate everybody with. And the third conflation has to do with the calling Cleopatra not black and then calling the rest of the ancient Egyptians not black. Do you not know that Cleopatra was not a real Egyptian? That she was not native to the land? Isn't it funny how they'll go out of their way to point that out when you talk about black people, but then once you talk about Egyptians, they don't point out that she's a Greek person, so her phenotype has nothing to do with the native Egyptians. So don't conflate those. This image has nothing but I want you to look at it. Look at how this person thinks that by standing in the same position, it makes you look like the person. Let's first address something. The upper lip of the statue is bigger than the upper lip of the guy at the bottom. But, and the nose, his nose is pointing down, this one's pointing straight. But it's not impossible to find people who are in Egypt now who look somewhat similar to the pharaohs, of course, because the modern Egyptians are mixed. They're mixed with some Africans, so some of them will look like the pharaohs and will look like the other people. But let's address one more thing. Looking at this statue, who is the statue? Can someone tell me who the statue is? Who the person behind the statue is? Me neither. I don't know who the hell that is. And that's my point. Like they always bring up random statues. I bring up Ramses, all the Ramses, all the Tutankhamuns, all they have to go find some statue far away in the corner somewhere so that it's like, oh look, we found one that looks like a modern Egyptian. Bring the real ones, bring the common ones, the ones we all know, and then put it right next to it and go, yes, they look the same. And don't bring me the fake Nefertiti statue that you always bring or the other fakes. Bring me the real ones. If we ignore the racism and the racist phrase that is put on the screen, do you notice how when Africans wear ancient Egyptian regalia, it barely looks like a costume? But when Europeans and Middle Easterners wear it, it looks like they're wearing a costume. Just look at this picture of this woman and tell me that doesn't fit perfectly. And no, I didn't skip this one. I just wanted to leave it for last. Can you see how blind these people are? These people actually think these two statues look the same. Focus on the mouth. You will see instantly that there's a difference. And then focus on the skin color because Nefertiti was always painted as dark brown in a way that if this woman could turn that color, she can't turn that color. What excuse will they come up with next? I can't wait.